Man's inhumanity to man. We've seen the terrible atrocities that we as humans are capable of, perpetrated on innocent civilians in the Ukraine, on those who were subject to terrorism in Israel, and those in Gaza who've been trapped by the bombing and the invasion that they've faced. But along with those, there are many other places around our planet where that inhumanity has been manifest. We've seen man's inhumanity to man in the exploitation of very vulnerable people, refugees and asylum seekers, young girls groomed to be abused, and children sucked into being tools of drug gangs. God knows all about man's inhumanity to man, and yet he still loves us. God experienced the violence and brutalization that we are capable of firsthand. Jesus endured the pain and agony of the cross after the most cruel and awful scourging. Even beyond his death, his body was mutilated, having a spear thrust in his side. He endured emotional and psychological torment. He was mocked by executioners who gambled for his clothing. And in a huge twist of irony, Pilate's notice over the cross read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Pilate could not know how right he was. Even in the agony of his death throes, Jesus still showed love and compassion, committing his mother into John's care. What an example to us. And at the end, he called out, "It is finished." Words that some might see as Jesus recognizing his ultimate failure. Others might look at the torture Jesus had undergone and think that Jesus was embracing the sweet release from his suffering. But neither of these is the ultimate truth. Jesus was speaking of completion. In the crucifixion, his mission was complete. He had carried the punishment that the whole human race deserved in his body. He had stood in our place. He had endured the worst that humans could do to him. And in this, he was opening the way for every human being, no matter what their background, to come to God. Jesus' work was done. "It is finished" was not a cry of despair, but a shout of triumph. The crucifixion wasn't a mistake and an abject failure. It was always part of God's plans, as Old Testament prophecies tell us. What to the world looked like defeat and despair was in fact the very opposite. We need to grasp that when we're going through difficult times, when our backs are to the wall, when we're being overwhelmed by the worst of human behaviour. On this Good Friday, don't follow the crowd. Don't crucify Jesus again. Don't allow evil to come out on top. Strive for a better world. Work for peace and stand for justice. Let the one who endured all that horror, all that agony, all that abuse, because he loves you, let him change your life and change your perspective forever. Amen.